Welcome to the Point Out Loud Women Trailblazers podcast. In this series, we're going to focus on where love meets leadership, women in philanthropy. This podcast is brought to you by the Salzman Center for Women's Leadership. Here at UW-Stevens Point, we believe that meaningful change begins with students and leaders who are committed to shaping a more inclusive, innovative, and empowered campus.
Well, thank you, Kelsey and Lena, for inviting me to join you as a co-host for this series, highlighting voices of passionate women working in philanthropy. I'm Jenny Riggenbach, the CEO of the Community Foundation of Central Wisconsin and a member of the Century School of Business and Economics Business Advisory Council. Kelsey, I'm telling you, our listeners are going to really enjoy the mix of philanthropy our guests represent. From nonprofit fundraising, corporate philanthropy, and public higher education fundraising. These leaders are redefining what it means to lead with expertise, compassion, and purpose. And the best part is all of them are UWSP alumni.
As Frida Kahlo once said, "Feet, what do I need you for when I have wings to fly?" Today we honor the UWSP students focused on their purpose and courageously developing their own wings to fly. Today we're joined by Laura Welsh, a leader in philanthropy and community impact. As a director of community relations at Capital Credit Union, she drives the organization's community-centered giving. With over 15 years of experience, including nearly a decade at Kimberly-Clark, Laura has strengthened resources for families and supported causes uplifting women and children. She also serves on several nonprofit boards and believes in the power of generosity, collaboration, and storytelling to create lasting change.
In this episode, Laura tells us she knows enough to be dangerous. She talks about mentorship, the confidence that comes from both receiving and giving mentorship, and she calls us to look where our passions are. Laura's Lego career, she put it together in her own way, prioritizing her own passions. You're gonna love it.
Well, Laura, welcome. Can you walk us through what your work looks like today and share what originally sparked your interest in corporate social responsibility and community relations?
Definitely. I mean, I feel like that is a bit of a loaded question for me particularly. I don't have a standard career path. So
we love that.
We do. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's worked out really well for me, and I've been so extremely blessed throughout my career and with my life that I don't take it for granted, the things that I've kind of been able to do and be able to prioritize in my life. So if I go all the way back to looking at college and thinking about what do I want to do when I grow up, I always knew that I wanted to be part of something that was bigger than me. I grew up in an amazingly philanthropic family, and my parents just really, really instilled in us the importance of giving back to our community and making our community a better place. So with that in mind, I decided I wanted to be an actress. And
Yeah.
You know, that just fits. And then shortly after, I got into my freshman year of college and I thought, I don't know that this is the right fit for me. I don't know that I'm competitive enough. I don't know that it fits the lifestyle that I want to have. So fast forward, I'm at Stevens Point and I see that they have an arts management degree. And essentially, the way I describe it to people who don't know what it is it's a business degree with an emphasis in nonprofits, specifically arts organizations. I love the arts. I'm a huge theater nerd. Obviously, I wanted to be an actress. It was something that it just really, really spoke to me. And what I realized as I started down that path and that degree path was that while I love the arts and I love arts organizations, there was such a wide world of nonprofits out there, and that I could actually build a career that was essentially just giving back. And that was the most important thing for me. And I have been extremely blessed and extremely lucky to be able to have that career. Now, the path has not been linear. I graduated from college and really immediately found out I was pregnant. I think I had about a month buffer. And so my then boyfriend, now husband, he and I were like, well, okay, let's we'll figure this out.
Yeah.
And so I ended up taking 12 years off. So I worked kind of with my first child loosely, and then we decided, okay, what is best for our family? And what was best for our family was for me to stay at home with our kids.
Yeah.
And stay at home with so I have 3 beautiful children, and I was able to stay at home and be with them for 12 years. But within that 12 years, I always knew I wanted to go back. I never at 22, when I had my daughter, thought, I know what I want to do. I want to be a stay-at-home mom. That was never like stay-at-home parents are amazing and wonderful, and I would never ever take that time back. But it wasn't what I saw for myself. I always knew that I wanted to have a career, and I wanted to show my kids that I could be a mom and I could have a career. And that was what worked for us and for our family. So within that time, I volunteered a ton. I did freelance work. I helped start nonprofits, and I just really always kept my feet wet with the idea that at some point I want to go back. So fast forward to my youngest is 8, and he is consistently forgetting his backpack at school, like at home.
Okay.
To get on the bus. And I looked at him and I said to him, dude, why you have one job? You got to bring your backpack to school. Like, how can you consistently forget it? And this little 8-year-old boy looked at me square in the eye and said, why do I need to remember it, Mom, if you will always bring it to me? And I thought, and now it's time for me to go back to work. Like, that is my sign. And so I ended up finding a part-time job. It was a job share position at Kimberly-Clark. And I was a job share administrative assistant for the head of supply chain logistics. So really nothing to do with my career path at that point, right? It was a good job that fit my family schedule really well in a company that I knew I could build the career that I wanted. And I had the most exceptional leader who, on my first day of work, in my first one-on-one, said to me, I hired you for Kimberly-Clark, not this role. So tell me where you want to go, and I'm going to help you get there.
Oh, nice.
And he's like, you will have to do the work, but I will support you in it. And I looked at him square in the eye and I said, I want the community role. And he's like, okay, let's get you there.
Woo.
2 years later, I was leading community at Kimberly-Clark.
Okay.
And his name is Troy Youngbauer. I'm actually very good friends with his wife. I give him a ton of credit for seeing something in me that I don't know that I always saw in myself either, right? I was coming off of 12 years of being a mom and trying to build a career in a huge corporation, and him really taking me under his wing and mentoring me and giving me the opportunity to really, really shine. And so I credit him a lot with what I've been able to build for myself.
Yeah, so I wrote down so much of what you said. Okay, so first of all, listeners, I think what our friend Laura just called the, kind of a different track. I think this is the track we want. Why we want to be able to pivot in these ways so that we can choose how we want to show up at what time we want to show up. And I am just so full of admiration that you had the ability to make your own choices.
I think that is beautifully put. And I will say, I did have the ability to make my own choices. I also have a husband who, from day one, just told me, I want you to be happy.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do. I just want you to be happy.
Okay.
And so that gave me freedom to really make decisions. And also, I mean, we've been married now for over 20 years. We can communicate with each other, and I could say, this is what I need. and this is what I want to do, and what does that mean for our family, and the same, right? It goes both ways, right? It's a two-way street. So he's able to say that to me as well, but we can have those discussions of what does that look like? How do we prioritize our family, but then still empower each other to strive for the things that we want to in our professional careers.
Yeah. And I do want to come back though, and I love that you're acknowledging the partnership that you're in, right? So that's a good cue for all of us. Remember to make wise choices in our partnerships, that we're getting what we want out of them, probably that full level of support. And you just said communication, and I wrote down, because it struck me when you said with this great mentor you had, I looked him square in the eye and said, I'm going to guess one of your superpowers is direct and powerful communication.
Yes, I think it's a superpower. Sometimes people don't, but I do. Yes. I'm generally very able to verbalize what I want, and to be able to describe that to someone and bring them along on the journey of how I think something should progress, or what it looks like. I'm definitely not a shrinking violet type of person. I definitely make my thoughts and feelings known. That being said, I also know I'm not the smartest person in the room. And I know that there are plenty of people out there who I work with on a daily basis who are much smarter than me in different areas, and being able to be strong in myself and what my abilities are and my strengths are, but then also to be strong in what my team is doing and what the strengths and the abilities of my team and the people around me, I think is something that I've had to learn and mature into, definitely, especially as you're going into leadership positions. But it's something that I think is integral in being a good leader, is really understanding strengths, weaknesses, and building a team so that you bring out the best in each other.
Thank you.
So the way that you're talking, like being like, yeah, I looked at him square in the eye. What advice would you give to young women who would want to put themselves in that kind of position and like trying to find those kinds of leadership roles?
Do you mean like specifically within philanthropy, or just in general, just in being a leader in general?
Philanthropy and in general.
So I think one of the things, and when I was reading through your questions, it's interesting. I actually, like my daughter, I took my daughter through them so that we could talk about this, and she's like, how would you answer this one, Mom? I think being a leader and being in philanthropy both require passion. That you have to be passionate about what you are doing, right? You are making a choice to give up something in your life to pursue this. You need to be passionate about it, and you need to care. You need to care about it. I would also say find mentors. And mentors can be anyone from a CEO to, an administrative assistant. And so I don't always believe in titles. I think people can be amazing and be mentors no matter what level they're at, right? I really believe in leadership at all levels. And so find those mentors, find the people who you can trust to bounce ideas off of, to ask them questions, ask for feedback. One of the most powerful things I think someone can do is say, can you provide me feedback? Can you provide me feedback on how I was presenting today? Can you provide me feedback on how I'm showing up just in our day-to-day, right? And then to be able to take that feedback and use it as the gift it is. I truly, truly believe feedback is a gift. And so to be able to take that and build off of it, I think is huge. Let's see, what else? I would also say look for areas where you can lead when you're not a leader. So like a leader by title, right?
Yeah.
So is there a project that you can take over, or say, hey, I can help with this. I'm really good at this. Can I help with it? And look for those small opportunities where you can start flexing these muscles and building these skills. Because good leaders don't just happen.
Yeah,
it's a lot of work. And you have to really understand and want to work at it, and really help build up those people, and build up the people that you're with, and have those opportunities to expand and to grow, and to really figure out where your strengths are. And then, I mean, undoubtedly also, but right, we all want to shine. So it's opportunities to shine as well, and which is always going to help in your career, and be able to tell the story of your career and how you're building your skills as you're looking for that next role.
Laura, you talked about how, your family was philanthropic. You wanted to do something bigger than you. But here you are in an administrative role, and you had this drive to say, I want to be in community responsibility. Can you talk a little bit about what gave you that confidence, and how were you mentored? Into philanthropy.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I used to laugh that when I first started working at KC, there was a meme, and it was Big Bird sitting in a conference room in a meeting with all men in suits, and Big Bird's just sitting there like, hey guys, here I am. This is me. I'm in the meeting now. 100% the way I felt. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Did you know what you were doing right away when you got into the role, or were there people who actually mentored you?
For CSR, when I started working in corporate social responsibility, I knew enough to be dangerous. I knew enough to fake it till I made it.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah. I mean, when I started in the role, it was hyper local to the Fox Valley, which is the community that I live in. I live in Appleton, and it's also the community where Kimberly-Clark was founded. And so it was very, very hyper local to that community. And I knew the community very well. I had been working within the nonprofits within that community the entire time I was a stay-at-home parent, right? Sure. So I knew the community, I knew the players in the community, and I knew enough to ask questions. And I knew enough about nonprofits, what it looks like to be a healthy nonprofit, to then be able to transpose that into what does it look like to be a funder,
right?
And what are we looking for a funding perspective, but then also what are we looking for impact for the community, right? And so kind of putting all of those little things together, I was able to really learn. And I did have mentors. I have amazing mentors within the community, people that I work with today, still mentor me today, quite honestly, where I could ask the questions, or, we could have those conversations. The Fox Valley, I always say we're such a blessed community where I live, because it is an extremely, extremely philanthropic community, both personally and corporately. So I was able to partner with other corporate philanthropists, other people in the position that I had, and build those relationships. I think one of the things that has served me the best in my career is honestly relationship building. Specifically with philanthropy, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. You need to have that network and those partnerships so that you can generate the most impact for whatever you are trying to do.
Laura, as you start to talk about grant making, as a grant maker myself, right? Like everyone's always thinks, oh, it's going to be so much fun. I want to be on the grants committee. And then they get on the grants committee and this is really hard. So, I'm wondering how do you lead And in what ways are you weighing the community needs alongside Capital Credit Union's mission?
So I did see this question on in kind of the list of the questions that were sent over, and I always thought that this is an interesting question. And what I have found, be it at KC or at Capital Credit Union, is the need to have strong pillars about what that company, that corporation, that financial wants to do in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And using those pillars that are then tied to the business and how the business wants to show up in the community, and using those pillars as guidelines, and then using an understanding of the community and the community needs, and how you can I'm trying to think of I want to say funnel, but that's not quite the right word, but how you can build you can build a corporate social responsibility program based off of those pillars.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the community partners? What's the work that you're driving? Because to me, especially when you're looking at corporate social responsibility, I love it that everyone wants to be altruistic and wants to give back. I think that's lovely. I think it is, obviously, I'm passionate about it. It's what I do. However, there has to be a business reason for what we're doing. Companies don't just give money to give money, right? There are business reasons behind it. So how do you use the pillars, use the programs, and almost make a Venn diagram of here's our impact circle and here's our business impact circle. And then it's that sweet spot where those circles overlap. And you need to be able to tell that story and then really drive what you're doing against those pillars and kind of build this ecosystem.
Whew. So you are a fast process. I mean, I'm getting to know you. This is Lena again, and I'm really getting to know you, and I can see why you were spotted as someone to hire for the company instead of the position. You're smart. You're a fast thinker. You fast processor. You're integrative in your thinking. I mean, I can see the power and the skills and really the spirit that you bring to any work you probably do. This probably shows up everywhere in your life. So I want to turn towards doing all of that and being all of that as a woman. So I'm curious, what gives you hope about the future for women, especially at this time in society?
Honestly, my daughters give me hope. Because I see how strong they are, and strong in their convictions, strong in their confidence, and strong in their ownership of self and what's important to them. And that gives me hope, because I think that, I grew up with extremely strong female role models, and I don't know that every other woman did. And I think the ability to see my strong female role models then be emulated through my daughters gives me hope.
Yes.
And quite honestly, I see their friends. I see the drive and the passion and just the convictions that they have.
Yeah.
And that gives me hope. And the fact that, I'm going to swear, sorry, you can cut it out if you want. They don't take shit. Like, they don't, they know what their boundaries are.
Yeah.
And I adore that for them. That was a lesson that I had to learn, and I adore that they are learning it much faster than I ever did.
That's great. Yeah.
Accelerated learning. So legacy and accelerated learning. I love that. Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if you swear on the podcast or not, but so I apologize.
That's okay.
I swear all the time.
So I want to ask you a question about being like a UWSP alum. What impact did UWSP leave you to do all of this amazing work that you do?
I loved my time at UWSP. I loved every minute at Stevens Point. I think for me, my time at Point really provided me an avenue of adulthood with training wheels. So I could make mistakes, and I might wobble a little bit, but I could always right myself. And I was lucky enough. I worked for Centertainment. I was the business manager for Centertainment. And so Greg DeKroger, who is no longer there.
Greg, shout out.
Love Greg. Yes, love Greg. He was a mentor of mine. And really, he was the first person that told me, you're in college, but this is adulthood. This is an adult job, and you need to take it as that. And you need to learn and grow from it. It's an opportunity. And I was able to do that, right? I sat on the UC board because of my role, and really was able to gain, like I said, these experiences, but within parameters where I couldn't really make that many mistakes. I could make mistakes, but I was given the grace and the opportunity to write it myself, right? And to me, all of my classes, everything that I took, I loved, but that ability to really be able to learn and grow and learn what it means to be a fully functioning adult, although sometimes I still question if I'm a fully functioning adult, but it really, really was priceless to me.
Yeah.
And I value that so much out of everything that I got out of being a student at Point.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I love it.
I love hearing UWSP alum stories again. It makes me so happy to hear, to know that like I picked a really good school for my education, but also to find myself in everything and to find my purpose as well. So it makes me excited to hear others finding their purpose when they were here at UWSP.
It is really cool. You picked some really stellar leaders. I got to tell you, Kelsey, this is fun.
I loved listening to the other podcasts, so I can't wait to listen more. Yeah. I'm a big podcast junkie, so
it's been a little hard with you, Laura. I'll tell the truth, because we have to have our minds in two spaces, right? We're listening to you and we're prepping our next question, and all three of us have been so drawn into you that when you're done giving an answer, we kind of look at each other a little confused, like, oh, right, we're running this thing.
That's funny.
So, Kelsey, do you want to add, I know we need to wrap up. Okay, so I'm going to wrap us up. Here we go. We'd like to know, Laura, your closing bit of advice, really for the three of us in the room, and then every woman that goes out from that. How do we grow our philanthropy? How do we be better philanthropists?
Oh gosh, $1 million question. I think philanthropy is incredibly personal to everyone. And to me, it is finding what you are passionate about and using that passion to fuel the change. And change doesn't mean huge monumental things. It can mean small acts of kindness, small acts of education, small acts of donations, but finding something that you are passionate about and figuring out how you can work that into your life is, I think, huge and somewhat undervalued at times. But that's what I would say. Look at where your passions are, and just try to do good with that passion.
Well, Laura, we thank you so much for being with us today, telling us about your experience, sharing your wisdom with us. We just wish you the best.
Well, thank you. This was so much fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us in our 8th podcast series. We've focused on where love meets leadership, women in philanthropy. We hope these stories inspire you to step up, speak out, and make a difference in your own communities.
Our guest host, Jenny Riggenbach, is often saying to me, be curious. I have to be honest, sometimes I hear her say that and I just don't even know what it means. But when I review this series, I think it's crystal clear to me. It's about opening your eyes, opening your ears, and asking really good questions and then paying attention. I hope we can all carry that call to action to be curious forward with us in everything we do.
Be sure to tune in into our next series where we will continue to amplify the voices of those creating meaningful impact.
Until then, keep pushing forward, keep advocating, and keep driving change.